legends, I hope you're all fantastic. On today's video, we're taking a look at this Artist Guitars Falcon model. This is their funky little offset in surf green. It's got a poplar body, really nice dark piece of rosewood for the fingerboard, bolt-on maple neck. It's got a trem, 2 single coil pickups with a 3-way switch on here. And Artist Guitars are an Australian-based company, so plenty of people have been asking me to check them out. They actually got in touch with me and sent this guitar over for review. So thank you very much to Rory and the team at Artist. But 2, this retails for 249 Australian dollars, which for reference at the moment is about 160 euro or 170 American dollars. So it is crazy cheap. And I'm guessing the main audience for this guitar is going to be beginners or hobbyists. But after playing around with it for a week, straight out of the box, it plays really nicely. It was intoned, the strings held up and were stretched in, it stays in tune. The bar doesn't get too crazy, but it's nice for kind of shimmery surf style stuff. And you would have actually heard it on some of my videos, like my Eventide H90 videos. So what I want to do first, before I actually talk about my opinion on this guitar, is let you hear it. I'm kind of going to use my 1977 Fender Strat, which is definitely in that desirable vintage upgraded category. It's got stainless steel frets, Sir pickups in it. I love that guitar. People who watch the channel always rave about it when I play it. So I'll let you hear a couple of side-by-side clean chords. Then I'll just kind of riff around and noodle around, throw it into another jam, and I'll lift some of those little excerpts from demo videos, and then we'll just talk about it a little bit more. mentioned at the start of the video 3 core groups that this is going to appeal to, and the first one is obviously beginners. So if you're a beginner and you don't have a lot of money to spend on a guitar, or you're a parent buying a guitar for one of your children and you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money because you're unsure about whether they'll stick with it, this is going to tick all those boxes. It plays really, really nicely. It looks cool, you know, having something that's not just a generic Strat copy as your first guitar. That's definitely a bit of a flex in the school classroom. I know this because I teach a day at a school, and plenty of the kids now kind of come in with funky looking guitars. I think this would go over really, really well. But the most important thing, if you're a beginner, is that it's kind of easy to play and it doesn't discourage you. And, you know, everybody says this when they review modern guitars, but it's so much better than what I had available to me when I started out. But I think we all expect that. So this is well within what I expect now for a guitar at this price point. Plays nicely, you know, all the frets are leveled, everything's kind of clean, the nuts cut cleanly on here. They've ticked all the boxes as a beginner's guitar. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The second one would be hobbyist. You know, if you're not really somebody who considers yourself a guitar player, or you play another instrument and you need a guitar kicking around and you want to make some fun noises, I actually found this incredibly fun to play as just kind of like a jangly noise machine. You know, you throw some spring reverb on it and you get surf sound. You use an octave fuzz like you heard in there and you get these just disgusting gooey tones. I think this is, again, something just a little bit different. The offset body, this kind of like jazz bass style control on here. The fact you've only got 2 pickups is actually really comfortable to play. You know, you're not hitting that middle pickup in there. I just kind of wish that this particular switch on this guitar went up and down rather than side to side, because I'm used to that. The short scale for me is probably too slinky. Like, I just tend to overbend a little bit on it and get a little bit crazy. It's something that I do have to adapt to. And it is one of those things where, yeah, it's kind of funky, but it's also not super extreme. So if you were looking for like a cool guitar with, you know, really weird headstock or something like that, I don't know, maybe you could take a jigsaw to it or something like that. Don't try that at home, kids, by the way. But there's not many things I actually dislike about this guitar. There are some tooling marks on the fretboard in here. The fretboard's actually really nice and dark and clearly oiled, and there are some like indentations along the side of the neck here. They're not like a deal breaker on here. They're not uncomfortable. There's nothing sharp, but it is an aesthetic thing where I know some people are going to look at it and kind of go, oh, you know, wish there weren't these little marks in here. It just kind of makes it, I don't know, look a little bit more like something you would expect in this price range. And that's not a diss on the guitar. That's just what this particular model has on here. Otherwise, the fit and finish are really good. So I think if you're a hobbyist, this is, again, well over the threshold of bang for your buck. Again, 249 Australian dollars. If you're a professional and you want a guitar to just kind of throw around and jam on, there are so many options out there. And this does come in probably around like €40 cheaper than the cheapest Harley Benton guitar that I have. Obviously, if you're buying this overseas instead of Australia, or if you were trying to buy a Harley in Australia instead of one of these, the shipping is going to be a very, very big factor in there. So I would say if you're an Australian and, you know, you're an intermediate player or a pro player and you just want something fun and cheap to have a jam around on, or to have something as a point of difference, this is actually at the price point where you're not going to be able to ship a guitar in from Europe or the United States with similar specs for cheaper. Plus, you'd have to pay duty here in Australia. So I think that is the other kind of killer factor about this, that it's available to buy here in Australia, and what you see is what you get for the ticketed price there, which for Aussies, you know, I don't want to go on a rant about gear, but most of my audience is overseas, but I'm still based in Australia and I still like to buy gear here. And it's always so hard to find reliable gear at a good price, or to even just find anything. Sometimes it's so hard to actually get units that everybody else takes for granted over here. So the fact that it is based in Australia, I think, is a real sweetener if you're an Aussie-based musician looking at these. But the most important thing, whether it's a $249 guitar or whether it's a guitar that costs $5,000, good for the money shouldn't really be a thing. It's just either kind of good or it's not, and it should inspire you to play. That's what a good piece of gear does. And like I said, if you saw my Eventide H90 demo, that intro track that I made, I played everything except those big dirty lead guitar parts on this guitar, all the clean textures. I plugged it into the pedal. I started noodling away. It's got a trem, which I normally block on my guitars, but for something like this, it's kind of fun to just leave it on and noodle around on. And, you know, it's just fun. That's really all I can say. I had heard a lot about artist guitars from a lot of the people who watch the channel who have put questions in my Q&A videos talking about how they've picked them up. So I would love to hear from anyone who has grabbed one of these. For 249 Australian dollars, I don't think you can do much better. That's probably about the equivalent of 10 coffees at the going rate of inflation as well. So again, thank you to Rory and the team for sending this over for me to check out. Let me know if you've got any questions. If you do want to pick one of these up, I have an affiliate link in the video description. If you click that, I do get a small kickback. It contributes to what I do on the channel. There's no extra cost to you to do any of that. If you don't want to do that, you know, you can just enjoy all the other videos on my channel, grab some of my free IRs and presets in the video description, come and join my Discord, or sign up to Patreon and buy some of my music. I will leave you with one last little jam. See if you can name this Aussie classic. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.